Hello, I hope you're all well. Welcome to my channel. If you've not been here before, if you've been here before, hello, welcome back. So I just wanted to do a quick video, hopefully it's a quick video, and put out a little bit of information. I'm not quite sure yet what I'm going to say, but I'm going to start by, well, first of all, we've got full moon coming on Tuesday. Honestly, I just literally just switched on the camera after pull these cards out. So I think it's Pisces. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I'm just going by the last moon, which was a Virgo. I'm not sure, but it doesn't really matter. Just that we've got a full moon coming on Tuesday, which is important. And they're all important. Full moons are particularly important because it's the higher self of the feminine energy, and these cards have just explained something to me. So this is like I do my cards every day, and I've already done some earlier. Actually, this is the second lot today. Just felt drawn to do these, and it's really explaining a lot. So I just thought I would do it. Switch the camera on and run through it. So I'll just start with that. So basically, what this is revolving around, these cards are revolving around, is it's twin flame process, because it's always about twin flame process. And the twin flame process is, if you're going to look at the twin flame process from a spiritual point of view, which is a vibrational point of view, it is the growth of the feminine in every sense. So it's whoever's working from the feminine template primarily, it is your growth, and it is your wisdom, and it is your awareness in your present life, so in your incarnated life experience. So your spiritual work is your life work, but your life, it's your physical life. So your spiritual work is everything about how you live your life. It's not a spiritual, like just a separate spiritual path. It's your whole life, and everything that goes on in your life is a reflection of the twin flame process. And it is your coming into your power, which is your coming into awareness of everything in your physical existence being representative of that twin flame connection. So there's no really escape from the twin flame connection. And there is no there, but then on the other hand, there's always a way of viewing the twin flame connection by what's going on in your physical life, right? So nothing is separate, everything is about that. So that's the first thing. And what we've got here in the middle is Eight of Wands, which is energy coming and going, and that can also represent things manifesting into the physical, because as energy moves, so does the physical. And we've got on there the Nine of Pentacles woman, which is a woman who is grounded into her physical life, who's her accomplishments in her physical life. That just what they mean by accomplishments is just that owning the physical life. So it means owning the life, the experience of being physical. So that means loving the life, and that means appreciating everything in the life and finding more to appreciate, because you're here, the spiritual reason for being here, for being manifest into physical form, is to love everything that's in physical form. So that's the spiritual journey, and that's not just twin flames, that's absolutely everybody. So the power that you come into as a feminine, working from the feminine template in the twin flame connection, is coming into abundance in the physical world, which means basically just loving everything around you, everything that happens to you, everything that you go through. And as you grow to love more and more and more, you find more and more that you love. So you are surrounded by more and more that you love. So it's this being in the physical, being physically existing, and listening to higher self, or being guided by higher self, who's the bird on her arm, which means that basically what's guided by higher self? Well, it's guided to let go of anything that causes pain or suffering in the physical experience, because the spiritual path is a complete enjoyment and happiness in the physical experience. The opposite of that complete happiness and enjoyment is pain and suffering. So the higher self, operation of higher self, is the let go of pain and suffering. And in that's letting go of everything, right? Because in everything you can find pain and suffering, just as in everything you can find beauty and harmony and peace and happiness. there's always a black and white. There's always a masculine and feminine. Masculine being the black and feminine being the white, the light and the dark of the physical experience, right? But it's finding the beauty in everything that's the power over the physical dimension, because once you start to find the beauty in everything, you start to manifest more from a higher framework and more of that which you love, and it just gets easier. So the path of the feminine is this growth process into like coming into being, where it just gets easier and easier and easier and easier to be in a physically existent. And, you know, all the kind of the worries and the pain and the stress and the shame and the all that victim, oh woe is me, all that, it just gradually through this process, through the evolving of the process, it just gets less and less and less and less and less, so that you can be brought more and more and more and more from higher self. Higher self is cleared vibration. So higher self is energy, vibration is energy. What you are when you leave your physical framework, your physical existence is energy. It is vibration. It is therefore what you bring from that cleared vibration in terms of you being harmonized with your higher self into a state of loving life, loving the feeling of being here, loving everything around you, focusing on the positive, not because you're trying, but just because you do, because you will get there eventually to where you do. That brings you more from that. And obviously, you know, people here that watching this, because it's twin flame connection, are wanting to know, when does this reunion occur, if this reunion's going to occur at all. Well, it's when you've achieved that. So, and that's an organic process, that's the twin flame process. So it's not something, yes, you can consciously focus on it, definitely, because like I say, you can understand through your physical experience where you're at in this journey. Therefore, you can start to kind of become one with your higher self and follow the guidance that you're given by your higher self, which is always going to be, by the way, to let go. The more you let go, the more you draw to you from a state of non-resistance. Non-resistance is happiness. So the only resistance that there ever is unhappiness in whatever shape or form that comes in. It's the opposite. When we say resistance, it's just the opposite to happiness. So the more happiness you're in, the more you're bringing to you everything, including your twin flame reunion. The thing is, you're working with somebody else who's incarnated. You may or may have not met them or know who they are, who's also working from this program of coming into a cleared vibration of happiness. And this reunion doesn't occur till you've both achieved that happiness, and that's a liberation happiness. So it's an individual happiness. It's not the happiness of that person giving you that happiness that you're attached to. When you go through this process, what you're actually clearing, what you're really letting go of, is that person. So that person is the catalyst for your growth, right? So it's that person, and feeling like only being with that person will make me happy, that you actually clear. And when you've cleared that and you get into a place of happiness despite that person, and that you've thoroughly let go of that person, is when either that person or whoever your twin flame is comes back to you. Love comes back, basically. You have to let go of love from outside yourself, find it within yourself. Once you've found it within yourself, and what does that actually mean? Love, it means happiness. Then it comes to you from outside of yourself. So that's why we've got, it's energy that, you know, it's what comes in your vibration first, by your ownership of your physical life, that then brings everything else. So the first thing they've got in the middle is that. Underneath, and this is why I'm reading these cards out that I just popped out earlier, is because the card that came out underneath is the Two of Wands, and Two of Wands is choice point, right? But it's also about let go. If you can view this, because everything in duality is black and white, everything in duality is masculine and feminine. You can only exist with the dark and the light as part of the experience. You could say the ego keeps you grounded into your physical life, and the which is the masculine, and the feminine, which is higher energy, is your higher self, which is asking you to let go of the ego. So your 0 point, which is the path in between, is the point of 0 between masculine and feminine, which is this journey, right? Because it's a point of let go. It's actually, you know, I was putting these cards out earlier and reading them for myself. What they said is sitting on the fence. So what's the point of let go if you're visualizing that through your physical existence? Because we can all say let go, right? And it's about letting go. Excuse me, I just dropped a card, so let me pick that up. But it's kind of an abstract term, isn't it? And, you know, some people, they don't even understand what that means, let go. So let go in a much more down-to-earth way, a much more kind of physically computed way, means saying I don't know. Because you can't, if you think you know something, then you're either one side of the fence or the other. But if you're completely sitting on the fence in a state of I just don't know, then you're actually in let go. So you can view that around anything in your life, right? Because this program that you're running through here in your physical existence, which we call twin flame, which of course is nothing about romance, and it's everything about deprogramming the masculine template and working from higher self, which is a higher feminine energy. So that's what you're here to do, which is your point here of Nine of Pentacles. You're existing, but you're listening to higher self. That program that you're deleting the masculine and you're bringing the feminine into operation. It's about what's going on in your physical life, right? So you're clearing fear, and fear comes in everything in the physical existence. So it can come from like the biggest things to the smallest things. So it can be, for example, just using examples that I've experienced, be around like losing a great deal of money, having a great deal of money stolen from you, which is a huge fear, right? And if it happens, that's a fear manifest or whatever. There's big ones like that. Then there's the smaller ones like losing the back of an earring somewhere in the house, and just being your ego cording you into constantly looking for that little thing on the floor. And you could say, well, that's not really fear. But the thing is, whenever your mind takes over and takes you away from complete joy and abandonment and makes you focus on anything that is of a lesser value than complete joy and abandonment to the present moment and freedom in the present moment, you're in fear. So your journey here in your physical existence is to free yourself from all of the fear. So how are you doing that when you're physically alive? Because it's your mind, you see, which she came out on top of this, Two of Wands. It's your mind and how your mind operates, because all the thought is programming, and we think our thoughts are our own. But there's so much more to being here that we cannot see with the physical eyes. So we're basically manifest, pre-programmed to have certain thoughts. And you will have those thoughts because they're part of your process. So, for example, you will experience certain amounts of fear, in particular specific fears, big and small. Not because anything's wrong, but because you're here to clear fear. So you will go through experiences that are very, very fearful in many different types of ways, and, bigger. And then by the time you get to the end of the process, smaller, where you will be guided into let go around anything. So you'll be guided into letting go of thinking about where's the back of the earring or some similar small thing, right? And in that guided into that I don't know space, so you're saying I don't know where it is, and you're just leaving it at that. It's just an example, I don't know. And you're not trying to think about where could it be, because that's worrying, right? If you're thinking about where something could be. When am I going to find it? Am I going to find it? Where could it be? That's fear programming. No matter how small it might and insignificant, it's still fear programming. And in this journey, you're guided to clear all fear. The reason that what happens is that when you clear all that fear, because you're working in connection with somebody else who's manifest as well, a person manifest who's also containing this energy and doing this job of clearing fear, but you're the feminine creator of that process. So that person who's working from the masculine energy can only clear at a certain rate of clearing, and only because you clear. So they're always slightly behind you as you move forward in clearing fear, and then you'll suddenly stop and they'll clear fear and they'll catch up. And it keeps going like that. It's like a race of snails, basically, where the feminine's always in the lead. But as you clear the fear, you come into higher self. And what happens when you come into more higher self and you let go of having to know everything is when things come from higher self, right? So answers come through higher self. And what the answer gives you is more let go. It doesn't give you the answer maybe that you're looking for in the way that you think you should get it, because the ego always is looking for something and thinks it knows how it should get it, because it thinks it knows everything, because thinking thinks it knows everything, right? So, but actually higher self comes in different shape and form. So it comes in strange, you could call it miraculous ways. Once higher self takes over in this process, things come out of the blue. So for example, and the full moon here, the moon is out of the blue. It represents things coming out of the blue. And what we've got on here is High Priestess, which is the feminine energy, the feminine higher self, and things coming out of the blue. So it's like the let go of the feminine mind, which we've got here, the Queen of Swords, and we've got the choice point in there in the Wands, which is really no choice. The only choice is 0 point, which is saying I don't know, which is complete let go. And from that, right, and that is the power of listening to higher self, because higher self is always making you let go if you allow yourself to listen to it, is what comes out of the blue because of that activity. Opposite that, what came out is the physical experience of the feminine and brand new beginnings in the physical world. So what comes through into what manifests, everything that is in the physical world is a manifestation of energy. It's never anything but that. It's always that. So all the things that ever happen to you are manifestations of energy. Right, but this is a process that you're in, which is called twin flame process, which means that you have a job to do in clearing fear. So it doesn't mean that you're just working from law of attraction and you could like maybe go into like really higher energy and completely manifest from that higher standpoint, because you're here to do the job of clearing fear. So no, you've got specific work to do. And in that case, that's kind of a fourfold thing, right? It's a 4-dimensional thing, because for starters, getting into the high point of law of attraction, where you're able to manifest from complete happiness, is not an easy thing for people to do anyway. And there's all sorts of workbooks and workshops out there to try and help people do that, because the ego is so strong once you manifest as a physical being and you're brought into ego. It's quite hard work to get out of that way of operating, where you work from a state of let go. So that's like and one aspect, if you were to say like we're going to work from law of attraction as a human race. The reason twin flames, see, that's two sides of it's a cross, right? You've got these ends of the cross. You got these ends of the cross, and at these ends of the cross is a twin flame experience, the masculine and the feminine, working to clear fear. And actually, what happens from that clearing of fear, as they draw closer together and reach 0 point, is that you come into the full happiness. That is that happiness spot of the law of attraction where everything manifests. So through your process, you get to where a lot of people are going to find it very difficult to get through the workbooks, through your clearing process, right? So the benefit of the twin flame process, if you want to view it from a physical experience, is that sooner or later you get to full happiness where you manifest from that, whether you like it or not, because that's what you're doing whilst you're clearing fear, is getting closer and closer to full happiness, right? Other people that haven't incarnated for twin flame, they're not in a program that gets them there. They've got to work harder to get there, right? They've got to they've got to find different ways of getting through it. So just to throw a light out there and say, within what appears to be quite a dark experience, the twin flame experience, a lot of the time, there's actually a lot of light coming to you. So there's always reason to rejoice on the journey, basically, and to know that you're going to get to where you're able to manifest, where you don't even, it's not a thought, you just will automatically manifest from happiness, because it's where the process will get you. So, but yeah, so physical experience, feminine here, and then brand new beginning in the physical world is what came out here, opposite, coming out of the blue, and the twin and the higher self of the feminine. Now really, there is only one higher self with twin flame, because masculine and feminine, masculine is ego, feminine is higher self. Both twins are connected through vibration. So what's higher self? It's feminine energy. So that's everybody's higher self, right? And that's the twin flame's higher self. So in their connection, they're working from the one energy really, and they're deleting the other. So they're deleting the masculine ego and they're growing into the feminine. But it's only going through the feminine's process in consciousness, which is here in the manifest feminine existence. Okay, but once this arrives into the full feminine, see, look, it's even going through here, through higher self of the feminine in the physical existence to higher self, freed of the feminine, freed of physical existence. Once it gets to here, this is the higher self of both manifest twins. Okay, so what comes into being comes through that higher self in both of them. So, and it's an energetic process. It's what comes and goes energetically. Energy is higher self. So it's you don't have any choice in this. All you have a choice of is whether to let go or not let go. And to make it clear again, not letting go is masculine energy. It's the lower of the two. And letting go is feminine energy. So the process here of letting go, the feminine growth process of letting go, coming into higher self, is how the journey goes, right? So where are we? So just to say that, right? As you let go, they let go. So you're connected to one other who's working from the masculine framework and the ego is resistance. And what is it resisting? It's resisting happiness. At first, it's not going to even know what happiness is, because full happiness only comes from being in higher self, where you're guided by your vibration or spirit or whatever you want to call it, and you're in a complete state of let go, and therefore you can be in a state of laughter around everything that the ego is trying to tell you to do or not do. Because the ego is always going to put you into fear if it's given a free rein. So it will always put you into resistance from full happiness. It will always stop you from trying to be happy and in a state of let go. Once you fully clear the ego, which is clearing all of fear, you're in a complete state of let go, and you're in a complete state of happiness. But you're also in a complete state of not knowing, of actually agreeing to not know, actually saying, I don't know. Because that is let go. Am I repeating myself? Probably. I'm trying to just get it out. So the thing is, let's see, where are we? Right. Right, okay. So just to elaborate a bit on that, because I want to explain it so you understand it. The ego, when you're going through twin flame process, the ego is the part of you that's always going to say it knows what's going to happen and it knows what's going on. Right, so first of all, it'll say that it knows it's twin flame. I'm just using some examples. And don't take any of them to heart too much. Just, you can find your own examples and whatever your brain wants to tell you, basically, that's coming from your ego. So first of all, it'll tell you, it might tell you it's what twin flame process is, right? It might get some of that right and some of that wrong. But the ego never knows everything. But also through the mind comes claircognizance and clairaudience, clairvoyance as well. It all comes through the mind, really, apart from clairsentience, which comes through the heart. So, you can have flashes of inspiration coming into your mind, which is higher self. But you've also got the ego in there. So you've got the masculine and feminine inside your brain, in a sense. You've also got the ego there. The ego can make more of what's being told to you by higher self. So the ego always wants to know more. It always wants to work things out. It wants to judge things, It wants to have black and white. It wants to box things off. It wants to say, okay, I know what that's about now, and then move on from that. And you'll find in this process that you go through a lot of where you think you've worked it out in one way or another, and you could think you could worked out that person you're connected to, and you think you've worked out yourself. And then you'll find it all unraveling again, and you have to then go through the process of letting go of everything you think you've learned and being in a state of I don't know. And there's a lot of pain that can come in that I don't know, because it's from where you're letting go of the ego again. So it's where, and this is also the purging that comes through the masculine, delivering to the feminine what has to be purged, because the masculine is the ego and the work from the ego, which means that when they've boxed you off and they think that they've worked out everything they need to understand about you, and therefore they've locked that away in a box, and they've decided, that's it, they're done. They then come into more higher self because you're growing into higher self, and they have to open that box again, and they have to purge. So there's a lot of thinking, it's shutting it all down with the ego, and then it all opening up through higher self again. It's a growth process of back and forth. You could call it purging, dark night of the soul, spiritual death of the ego. And it's all guided through higher self, opening up and expanding you into more and more clarification and understanding that comes from letting go of what your ego thinks it knows, until you're in this great big state of freedom and let go, where you don't need to know anything anymore from your ego, and you're quite happy to just be in a state of not knowing, and the freedom and the complete non-resistance, that essence of allowing yourself to not know anything. It's like floating right? Because you're not boxing it in anymore and you're not resisting anything. You're just like, well, let's just see, shall we? Let's just see. Let's not come out on this one way or another. Let's just sit on the fence and see what goes on. And let's just be open, and let's just be non-resistant. And and what is that? All that openness and non-resistance? That's present moment. That's all just present moment, because you're not referring back to the past and what happened in the past between you and them or in your life that's locking you up into unhappy resistance. And you're staying free of that. And then you're not locking yourself up into loads of unhappy resistance because you haven't gotten what you thought the future would be yet. And all miserable, unhappy and scared because of that. You're just in this let go, let's wait and see, easy breezy, floating around in the present moment, awareness, right? Sitting on the fence. So, energetically sitting on the fence, right? So, and that is like what we've got here in this, which is go with the flow, feminine. We're always told feminine goes with the flow. Well, what's going with the flow? It's sitting on the fence. It's just it's just seeing. It's just not saying, I know what's going to show up. And it's not saying, and it's also not saying, I know what's going to show up because of what happened to me before. Because that's all lockdown. That's all resistance, right? It's pregnancy. Look, she even looks pregnant, right? She's even got a hand on her belly like that. She's having a glass of wine. A glass of wine helps with non-resistance. That's no pressure, but it does. So this go with the flow is just a happy, let's wait and see. Let's not lock it down into one thing or another. Let's not get all masculine on it. Let's not get all I know what's going to happen. It's going to happen this way. And if it doesn't happen that way, it's not going to happen. I won't be happy. It's got to be like this. It can't be like it was before. It's got to be different. All that is masculine energy. All that is fear. All that is lockdown. All that is resistance. Feminine energy is take a breath, take a breather, put your feet up, let go. She's coming out in Six of Cups, which is twin flame reunion. And it's a childlike reunion. So, and what are children before children are born connected to source. They're taken away from the connection to source through ego, through being told they have to do this, they have to do that. They've got to sit up straight. They've got to learn maths. If they're not good at maths, they're never going to be good at anything. Their life will be miserable. They'll be unhappy all their lives. And if that child can't do maths, and if they've got dyscalculia, they're punished and they're berated and they're forced to do more maths. And they're put into pain, the pain of the ego. That's just one example, right? Where they're unhappy because they're being forced into going into more resistance inside themselves by more people that are in ego around them, so they're taken away from source. What is twin flame connection? It's the Trinity. It's the connection to source represented through the two people that incarnate, that are going through the twin flame process. The twin flame process is not romance. It's not a relationship. Right, it is about connecting to source, reconnecting to source through that person, being an example of source, through the connection that you have with that person, representing the connection to source, through you coming back into awareness of your connection to source, your awareness of vibration, your awareness that you're an energetic being, your awareness that you exist forever, that your humanity is only fleeting, through the connection with that person in the physical. Right, and that's what twin flame process is. And also the reunion comes at the point of that complete clarity and understanding. And what is that clarity and understanding? What does that represent? The connection to source. It represents let go, because the ultimate let go is the understanding that you exist forever, therefore there's nothing to worry about, that your physical life is only transitory, therefore there's nothing to worry or fear about. So ultimately, it's the connection with this person that comes in, and the fear that you're put into through that connection. And what is the fear that you put into through that physical connection with that person? That fear is that you'll never be with that person, and therefore you can never be happy. Right? So by the time you get to the end of the process, what you actually clear is that fear, and that fear is complementary. It's corresponding to the fear of death. That fear that you'll never have that person, and if you're not with them, you'll never be happy, is actually the fear that you're going to die before you can be happy. one way or another, right? And by the time you get through this process, you have cleared all fears and you have expanded. That's what the Ten of Wands is here. Masculine and feminine, again, the Chariot, lessons around the ego and higher self. You have expanded into your energetic beingness. Energy, 10, completion. You have expanded into your energetic beingness, which is, again, vibration, but it physically manifests. So you've become a balanced 0 point between the ego and the higher self, where you're able to be existing in physical form, but working from higher self. Physical form, higher self, right? So it means you're in full operation. And it's also corresponding to the expansion of energy, which is the feeling of let go that comes from understanding that nothing is really important, because you never die anyway. And all that you're going to do when you do leave your physical body is go and take a seat in the stands and watch everyone else kicking the ball about as the game goes on. And you just actually, you can still slip into someone's physical body and have a kick at the ball anyway, because everything becomes the vibration of everybody that's living. So everybody who appears to be dead is actually still part of you in your vibration. Those that choose to, that have maybe known you, or family or friends, or, all that kind of stuff. So that's the process as well, right? And then we got here joy and happiness in the Three of Cups that came out, and justice. And that means the right thing is joy and happiness. Okay? So it's not, there's no judgment on this journey at all. There's no judgment of anything. How do you work towards more happiness and joy and happiness? You've got an ego, right? So put it to good use. Put your ego to use in bringing you more joy and happiness. And if you do that with your ego, down here, we've got healing, the physical life, and we've got Ace of Wands, which is point of attraction, vibration. What is fully healed? There is only one thing that states full healing: happiness. It isn't anything else. It's happiness, because happiness is point of attraction. So it really honestly doesn't matter how you get there. You just get there in whatever way you can. So how do you get there? You put your own happiness first. The justice is in putting your own happiness first at all times, right? Because the opposite of fear is putting your happiness first. Because fear would also have you think, which is one of the great narcissistic tactics, actually, that you have to put everybody else first and their happiness first. Because if you don't, you're a bad person and you don't deserve to live, which is absolute bullshit, because we all deserve to live and we're here to put our own happiness first. It's like putting your own gas mask on first before you can put on anyone else's. Once you've learned that happiness is the way forward into point of attraction vibration, where everything that is wonderful in your life manifests from permanently on a more permanent basis, then you can start telling other people how to do that as well. So it's about ending the program of fear that's running through the human race, which is basically a narcissistic program of holding us back from our own happiness, which all the major religions do. They all do it, right? Just to say that as well. They all hold us back from our individuality, and we're here to be individuals. That's what we've manifested for. We're not here to be like everybody else. We're here to live our own lives and experience what we want to experience, and do more of that and love more of that, And if we all did more of that and just got on with more of our own happiness, everybody would be happy. Everybody would be in point of attraction, and there would just be so much happiness everywhere. And there would be none of this fear, and there would be none of this terror, and none of this horrible, downtrodden, put down energy that we have to live in and under, that comes from the structures that resist, that put us into a state of resistance and into a state of fear. So that's the other thing that we've got there. Here we've got Wheel of Fortune, timing, and Ace of Cups, which is unconditional love and brand new love. And both these cards are 10. It's a 1 and a 10. So it's an 11 actually, right? You could view it as that, but you could also just view it as complete completion and everything just being the right time for freedom, basically. This is what's incoming right now with this moon, basically. The unconditional love that people talk about in the twin flame process has got nothing to do with romance. Unconditional love is just non-judgment, and that can be in everything, right? So, for example, if you're hearing me say about being selfish and you're starting to judge, oh, she's a bad person, you shouldn't tell people to be selfish. That's your programming that's telling you to do that for a start. Non-judgment is where you don't judge anything at all, so you don't judge anybody. There's a point of this journey where you come into like this energy of just everything being as it is, and you just leaving it alone to be what it is. When we talk about boundaries, because there's also boundaries that you have to learn about in this journey, because of course you are in physical existence, and because there's masculine and feminine energy in everything, and everything surrounding you in the physical world can contain both, and some things can operate from a very, very dark energy indeed, i.e. the narcissist and the sociopath. And you have to learn to boundary yourself off in a sense from that energy. But the boundary is not a closed boundary around you where you're in resistance. So there's a lot of work on this journey for the feminine and the growth process. The boundary is further out, right? It's like you come into such a broader perspective, such a grand understanding of what freedom is, that no dark energy can touch you anymore. So you have, in a sense, you will go through stages of boundary. You'll go through where you have to quite a hard boundary, a resistive boundary. You might have to have some narcissistic attacks and also push back against that energy with some like harsh no's, and no, I'm not doing that, and no, I'm not, you're not having that power over me, all this kind of stuff. But then it will soften and it'll expand as you grow, and it will just come into this energy of like live and let live, and everybody can be who they are, and I'm going to be who I am, and they are not going to affect me in whatever way. Even if they should come towards me and try and get their claws into me and tell me they think that they know who I am and I'm a bad person, right? Because that'll still come to you, because it's all about learning to operate without fear. So things will still come towards you like that to try and get their claws in and trying to put you in a state of resistance, i.e. unhappiness, by telling you that there's something wrong with you, right? So but as your boundaries expand and expand and expand, what happens is you stop feeling the pain of that as it comes towards you. And it's like because your boundaries start to push outwards in non-judgment, right? So it just means, for example, somebody coming towards you and trying to make you think one thing or another about yourself, right? Instead of that, it's like, how can I explain it? You just put out an energy of no, right? Without feeling it. You don't feel anymore that you're having to say no, because no becomes so much a part of you, so easy. This boundary is so easy to just clearly and concisely state, both energetically, maybe also verbally, possibly, very likely verbally, a no, without explaining yourself, without having to justify yourself. Quite simply, just because you know where your boundary lies between you and them, and you know that the only person that's going to influence your journey and how you feel and where you're at and what you do is your own higher self, right? Because you're coming into listening to higher self, and higher self is simply that. So you have a boundary as higher self, and that's a freedom. It's like you're able to just be you and exist freely as you. And like I say, yes, some people still come along and try and get your claws into you, but it's literally like a different feeling, way of existing in that energy of that happening to you. And you'll also find laughter in that, where you're laughing it off. You're laughing off these attacks that come from the things that are around you that are trying to take you out of your freedom place and your happiness place. And remember, the freedom and the happiness is your power, right? That's the abundance of living in the physical world in a state of happiness. And there's dark and light in the physical world, and the dark will try and take you out of your happiness one way or another. But your point of attraction is always being in happiness, right? And it becomes no longer a conscious boundary. It becomes just a boundary that you have that's instilled in you, that's organic and free. So you don't have to think anymore about boundaries. It just is, right? It doesn't hurt to create the boundary, basically. You just do it. because you know that that is your boundary and that's where it lies, and you can still remain free within that boundary. So the timing comes on that, and that's actually unconditional love, because unconditional love starts with yourself and you loving yourself no matter what. And that loving yourself no matter what, and that freedom is the freedom of the ego, where no judgment lies. So even when you're having this boundary, it doesn't mean you think about that person a lot that's tried to get the claws into you anymore, because that's ego if you're thinking about them. You just choose a non-resistant place. You choose to be free of it. Like I say, the laughing off, it's like, oh, that's happened, laugh it off, let it go. And you just carry on feeling good and being happy and being happy. Because what's coming to you is coming from that energy. So that's where you're going to get, right? And there's loads of lessons that come along in that throughout this process. So where are we now with this? Right. So that energy, because there's two of you working together in this, and the feminine is the growth process. So it's you, the feminine, that has to come into this energy, the boundaried happiness. It's like an invisible boundary of happiness, right? But you're also bringing the one that you're connected to into that energy as well. And the thing is that the masculines that incarnate in this journey go through really tough times as well. Okay, so they go through like lots of narcissistic interactions and being really held back from their own happiness through, you know, the masculine structures that are in play in the Earth grid. So the patriarchy and all the, you know, I mean, they're basically the masculine in template. So they're it's like a soldier going AWOL, right? It's what they have to do. So they have to like break down a lot inside themselves of ego, a lot more than the feminine has to break down, right? Which is why you help them break it down through the purge process, where they bring you that ego for you to break that down. But eventually they're going to end up where you end up, which is in this state of unconditional love for the self, which is a point to let go, where you're not judging other people and what they're doing to you, and you're not judging yourself of how you're responding to life in general. You're always looking on the bright side, and you're always just feeling for your happy place. Okay, and then you're in a state of abundance where you're bringing more of that stuff to you. And here we've got the devil, which is what you draw to you energetically. And we've got the Page of Wands, which is guided by spirit. So it's guided by vibration, energy. Now you could say energetically, because you use the word spirit, and that kind of puts it out of yourself, doesn't it? And it's like, well, what are my guides bringing me? But you're your own guide, because your higher self is guide. And your higher self is your twin's higher self. So you have one guide, basically. Right, and there's loads more to that as well, because these two energies work together, the masculine and feminine. So everything that's brought to you on this journey, the feminine, for you to clear and come into a power around, is brought to you by your masculine counterpoint energetically. The higher self is one higher self driving the truck, right? And the masculine and feminine are in there, expanding into 0 point, expanding into point of attraction. Well, not only does everything come, but everything leaves, you know, and the state of non-judgment to the self, the unconditional love of the self, and the release, therefore, of everybody else around you. Because once you're in unconditional love for yourself, you don't have to think about anybody else anymore, or worry about anybody else anymore, or worry what they think of you, or what they're doing to you, or any of that. You just let go of them, and you let them find their own way, whether they're going to come out of that darker or lighter, higher or lower. That's their story, not yours, right? So that's what these cards are saying, basically. So I just wanted to, because they're really kind of, these cards are really, really good right now about what gets drawn to you through the journey, through the coming into point of attraction, and just really, you know, to state all that, because I've had a lot of lessons recently, and a lot of lessons, clarity coming through around all this stuff in many different ways. And yes, okay, so we just finished to say that it's miraculous, right? We're talking about the what comes out of the blue, being really miraculous stuff. So we're talking about reunion as well. Reunion is miraculous. It isn't until, see, this is the thing. So we're going to talk about reunion. I know that's why a lot of people watch the videos. So to explain it a bit more, right? So your ego, Queen of Swords, the brain, the thinking, the ego, is always going to have an idea of how it's going to occur. For example, how reunion will happen. You know, it's always going to be thinking, is it going to happen like this? Is it going to happen like that? Are they going to come back into my life this way? Will they come back into my life that way? How the ego's trying to figure it out. How could it happen? For example, you know, maybe they don't have your phone number. You're thinking, well, how could they get in touch with me? They haven't got my phone number. But because everything comes from an energetic point of non-resistance, 0 point, are sitting on the fence. That's where everything comes from, because that's higher self. And this journey is what comes from higher self, not what comes from ego. It's the letting go of the thinking, and then it's just the seeing what will come, right? And it's just a complete let go of how that could come, which actually is everything that comes from a cleared 0 point and vibration and law of attraction, comes from a letting go of it and not trying to figure out how it will get there, right? So it's the same with reunion. It comes from not trying to figure out how it will get there. And then it's going to come in a miraculous way, right? Because it can come literally, look, guided by spirit, what you energetically bring to you. And this is 6, and this is twin flames as well, because it's a 6, it's harmony, and it's a higher echelon of the 6 of cups, where the 6s are all, you know, higher echelon in the 6 are here, the devil, which is what you bring to you through vibration, guided through vibration, which is the Page of Wands. Again, which is, it's just going to come in a miraculous way, in a way that you haven't thought about, completely out of the blue, like a bolt out of the blue, right? So that's really what that's, I think that's why I came here to do that video, to say that last bit, that it's really what you let go of that brings it back to you. And it's the letting go of trying to figure out how it comes back. That is what brings it back to you. Anything can come back to you, you know, from out of the blue on this journey as well. There's a hell of a lot that will come to you from out of the blue, from being in a state of abundance. That's just simple law of attraction. And there's things that you purposely put in there, things that you purposefully lose, that will come back to you. I'll tell you one story, then I'm going. All right, and this happened the other week. Quite a good one. Just a little one, but still quite profound for me, is that I'm selling lots of stuff on eBay. I'm getting rid of everything old, and I'm getting all new stuff. And that's part of this journey as well, because it's about creating the energy of the new. So it's like what you create in your physical life is actually replicating what's going on energetically. So it works backwards and forwards. When you get a push from your higher self to clear everything out and replace everything with new things, there's a reason for that, because you're getting rid of the old and bringing new things in, bringing in things that make you happy, things that you like the look of, things that make you feel good, right? And it's all about the feeling good. And that's putting that into the vibration. And because you've only got the one vibration that's shared, that's putting that in their vibration as well. Anything that you put in that pot becomes theirs as well, right? So it means they will be working from that energy of you feeling good. It'll become their feeling good. So I'm doing a lot of that. And I sold this one thing on eBay. It's here actually, that I got in India years ago. This little wallet with elephants on. And I remember I got it out of the drawer. I'd not used it for years, and put it on eBay. And when I got it out of the drawer, I was just stroking it and looking at all these, and I was thinking, oh, it's lovely, that is, all those little elephants. And then I sold it on eBay. And when I went to post it to her, I couldn't find it anywhere. And I had a bag with all the eBay stuff in, and I've been all the way through it twice over. And I went into a little bit of fear and got a bit panicky, because I was just like, well, where the hell have I put it? And what was running through my head was, maybe I've thrown it out in the trash, which would be terrible because it's such a lovely thing. But I'd had loads of packaging lying around, and I just had the recycle bin collected that day. So I thought, oh God, well, it might have gone in there and then it's just lost forever. So that was kind of putting me into fear, because that was, like I say, I'd got it out and given it a stroke and decided I loved it. As I was thinking that, though, I had this that part of me shouting inside of me going, but you didn't want to sell that. You didn't want to sell that. And it kept going on and on and on and on in that way. So, and I could hear it going on, and I was thinking, it's somewhere in this house, because that voice is telling me I didn't want to sell it. So I haven't sold it. I'm not posting it out, basically. So I had to email the girl and refund her and say, I'm really sorry, I can't find it anywhere. Because I couldn't. I did look wherever, without pulling the whole house apart, because it could only have been with that bag of eBay stuff. Anyway, about 2 weeks later, I was in the bedroom doing something, looking under something, clearing something else up. And there it was. And I laughed so much when it turned up, because I knew, because the voice had been telling me you didn't want to sell that I had, that it just, it had gone and hidden itself somewhere so that I couldn't sell it, because I wanted to really keep it because I loved it so much. And now I'm using it again, and I do love it a lot. So just things like that, things like that, you just, they can come back to you. That's a little thing. You do things on purpose, and the reason that I did that was not because I'm a mean person and I wanted to I got confused and thought I wanted to sell it. It's because higher self wanted to teach me that I was not going to sell something if I didn't want to sell it, if I loved it, and it was going to teach me that to recognise the voice of higher self even more than I already recognised it. And like I say, when I was looking for it and the voice inside me was going, but you didn't want to sell that, I knew that it was somewhere in the house and that I hadn't lost it, even though I was kind of in fear. So it was just a lesson in me recognising to listen to higher self and not be in fear, basically, because there's a choice there. You're going to be in fear or you're going to listen to the higher self. Right, so that is what that was about, and that is a lower echelon as well as something that happened to me years ago, where I missed the train and I'd done the cards the night before that had said New Mexico, and the new train that the nice man at Amtrak put me on went through New Mexico, as opposed to the train I missed that didn't. And I knew then that there's a reason for everything that happens, even like when it appears to be something negative, like missing a train and standing in the desert in the middle of the night. With no, on my own in the desert, my train just gone and everybody on it but me. That there's a reason for everything, because I had to go through the desert. But then I forgot that, so I had another little reminder in the wallet of how higher self operates through you. And that's, taken me into an even greater state of, you just don't know. You just don't know. You just don't know how things are going to come through, but you can be assured, completely assured, that the state of feeling good and the vibration of feeling good and the vibration of happiness will bring through your physical reunion at some point. So it's when you get to that location and that place inside of yourself where you're in state of happiness all the time, continually, that will come. This just shot out again. Wheel of Fortune, which is timing. What's this one? And Five of Cups, which is love come back. The love that you can't see, that's still in existence. And you might find as well, when you get to this completely cleared space of complete happiness, because you'll get shared information through the brain, that you might get some sign that your twin flame is also coming to that spot of complete happiness. So you might get some kind of telepathic event that tells you that, like waking up and just saying to yourself, I'm a really happy person. Oh my God, I'm a happy person. Like a sudden realization, which will be them coming through, finally arriving in their happiness. So just look at, because you're connected through the brain, look at also how you talk to yourself in your head. Because if sometimes when you talk to yourself in your head, it sounds like you're talking to that person, then it's that person inside of you that's talking to you, and probably not you that's talking to you. And like I say, your higher self is the same. So that's it, coming through that higher self into your brain through whatever way. All right, so I'm just leaving that for you for this moon that's coming. Lots of love. If you wanted to get personal reading or do a Skype session, all my details are in the information box below. Lots of love. Take care. Bye.